guys, welcome to part 2 of the Minecraft series. Today we're going to be adding placing to our Minecraft game. So the first thing we're going to do is fix a couple of bugs. The first is to drag change sign by pick random and put it before repeat. And then we'll drag out this stamp block along with the show and hide block. And we're going to be replacing this with a create clone of myself. Then I'm going to drag out when I start as a clone and put a show and then switch costume to grass. Let's test this out and you'll see it looks almost exactly the same, but the world generation is a lot bigger. And now we'll be using clones. We can drag blocks around and modify them instead of when we're using pen, and we can't. Okay, let's get to mining. We need to store the positions of the block in a list. Let's make a list and I'll call it blocks. And I'll make sure this is for all sprites and press OK. Before we can create a clone of myself, let's drag out two add things to block in the list. And instead of thing, we're going to be adding the position of. So I dragged out X position to blocks and a Y position to blocks. Now when we press the green flag, you'll see that our list is now full of blocks. Position. We need this list to detect if we can place a block or mine a block. In fact, let's make those variables now. I'll make a variable called canMine, and I'll make another one called canPlace. After we create the world, let's drag out a forever loop. And the first thing we'll need to do is show our mining cursor on the screen. Let's go to our costume. Let's make a new block and I'll call this go to mouse. This block right here will help us know which block we are selecting. Let's drag out a go to block and we want to move to mouse X and mouse Y. Before we can test this out, let's drag out a show block. We also need to drag out our go to block. When we press the green flag, you'll see that our black square shows up on the screen. But the thing is that it's moving exactly with our mouse instead of sticking to the black grid that we have here in our go-to mouse block. Let's go to operators and drag out a round block. And a multiply block and a divide block. And I'm going to piece them together just like this. Let's input some values for the second divide. For the first one, I'm going to put 32 and I'm going to put 32 in here too. Then let's drag in mouse X and then let's right click on the block and press duplicate. So we have 2, and instead of mouse X, I'll put mouse Y. Then I'll snap these back together in the go to block. When we press the green flag, you'll see that our cursor is indeed snapping to the grid, but it's a little offset. This is caused by our create world block. I'll type in -224 and -16, and I'll also replace this one down here to -16. Now you'll see that our cursor is no longer offset. So we have our cursor, but we still can't mine the blocks. First, we need a way to detect if we can place a block or if we can mine a block. Let's make a block, and I'll call it place. And I'll click run without. We'll need to loop through the entire block list and find out which positions are already taken and which ones aren't. Let's first make a variable. I'll call it I and click for this sprite only. Then I'll set I to 1. And then let's repeat length of blocks to see if our position is already taken. Let's compare our values in our X position with the values in our block list. Let's set I to 1, and then let's repeat length of blocks to see if our position is already taken. Let's compare our values in our X position with the values in our block list. If X position is equal to item I of blocks, if we have detected a block on X position, let's also see if we detected a block on our Y position. We need to make sure that's exactly the same. So to do this, I'll add 1 to I, and then I'll change this to Y position. That means we can't place a block. Let's set can't place to false and let's not move any further. And then we'll put a stop this script at the end. Let's really quickly add in a change I by 2 and a set can place to true. Here comes the fun part, where we can actually place a block. I'll go to our forever loop and let's drag out our can place block. So this will be forever detecting if we can place a block. Let me add a can place is true. So if mouse down, then let's repeat until we're not pressing the mouse. So repeating until not mouse down. Then let's go to the mouse and let's check if we can place, and then if we can let's check if we can place. And then if we can place, so if can place is true, we'll need to create our block and our create world. We are ready to create a clone right here. So we can simplify this into one block instead of 3 lines. I'll make a block called create block at. And I'll add an input for X and another one for Y. Okay. And then I'll just drag this out and put inside of our create block at. And then I'll delete the X position and the Y position inputs, and then I'll drag in our X and Y instead. This inside of our create world block, and I'll put in X position and Y position. We'll do the same for her right here. So we'll create block at, and I drag in our X and Y position. So you'll see that if we click, we can place a block. So that's it for episode 2, and make sure to stay tuned for episode 3, where we'll get to mining blocks, and make sure to stay subscribed.